कहाँ से है? The unknown.
The unknown is not the unknowable. It need not remain the unknown for us unless we choose ignorance or persist in our first limitations. For to all things that are not unknowable, all things in the universe, there corresponds in the universe faculties which can take cognizance of them. And in man, the microcosm, these faculties are always existent and at a certain stage capable of development. And here the unknowable, it says, other is that than the known, also is above the unknown by the Kena Upanishad.
Sorry. हाँ जी, अब आप बताएं.
तुमने क्या बोला?
हाँ, उसी से पूछो, उसने क्या बोला. So sorry. हमने सी टेप सुना दी इसने भाई ने. Yeah, so it's I think we had already talked about this, है ना, वो powers within की जैसे बात करी थी. And this is also quite interesting, ये जो लिखा ना नीचे, other is that then the known, also it is above the unknown. No, something like जब हम बात करते हैं ना, श्री अरविंदो और मदर की लैंग्वेज में आई थिंक दे यूज द वर्ड ट्रांसेंडेंटल. सुना है आपने? ट्रांसेंडेंटल. तो जैसे एक लाइट का अंश मेरे में, हाँ, वही लाइट का अंश हर जगह, और वही लाइट हर जगह है. तो जो छोटा पार्ट छोटा तो नहीं है, तो पूरी की पूरी पावर ना, अगर वो पानी की एक ड्रॉप भी ले लो तो पानी की तो पूरी प्रॉपर्टीज आ गई ना उस चीज में, है ना. और देन देर इज फार 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 मोर than whatever we can fathom, imagine. So just like if I have a glass of water, I'm just relating my understanding. If I have a glass of water, there is some in my glass, some in my cup, some in, you know, other things, and then there is the ocean that is there, which is not bound in any little form. तो ये वाला above the unknown, I thought maybe. हाँ,
आनंद
आनंद पापा
खा सकते हैं हमें?
मुझे नहीं पता. The unknown is not the unknowable. और इसमें वो वाली भी बात आ गई ना, जैसे हम बात करते हैं कि वैसे तो द नेम दैट वी यूज इज अगे, आई थिंक, है ना, इन हिंदी अगे बोलते हैं. बट जैसे मदर और श्री अरबिंदो भी बात करते हैं दैट यू कैन नॉट नो इट बट यू कैन बिकम इट, एंड देन you know through identity, something like that. Unknown is not the unknowable. It need not remain the unknown for us unless we choose ignorance or persist in our first limitations. So all that which I think, इसकी काफ़ी interesting, all that which I think is, I am not that, है ना. हम काफ़ी बार बातें करते हैं कि मैं तो भी बहुत छोटी, मैं थोड़ी ना इतनी दूर. So it's amazing that actually we are in a sense degrading ourselves, because whatever I think I am not but can become, that is parallelly existing in me, as if even if we talk about compassion, kindness, intelligence, clarity, तो वो लगता है कि अभी नहीं है मेरे पास बट होगा कहीं और, बट it's amazing to know that it's parallelly existing to me in me unless I choose ignorance. So I'm choosing every time.
So should I move on because ये है ना, ये basically जो पहले किया था उसका ही in a way वो लग रहा है
और
ना?
ये कर चुके हैं. I think this line also I remind myself, we may choose not to develop them. Skills सबके पास है, सबके अंदर inherent है. Where they are partially developed, I'm not developing it. We may discourage and impose on them kind of atrophy, कि मतलब वो wilt हो गया है ना over time because I did not nurture it. हाँ ठीक है, आप आगे करो.
But fundamentally, all possible knowledge is knowledge within the power of humanity. And since in man there is the inalienable impulse of nature towards self-realization, no struggle of the intellect to limit the action of our capacities within a determined area can forever prevail. Yeah, this also seems like last time we had covered.
मतलब मैं बस ये कह सकती हूँ that I am not choosing the divine. Every time I have a choice and I can never say, मतलब ये हमारे reasons जैसे हम देते हैं ना कि excuses जो देते हैं इसके सामने वो खत्म हो जाते हैं ना कि I am choosing to remain ignorant. और चाहे कितनी भी अभी मेरे इंटेलेक्ट को स्ट्रगल हो रही हो वहाँ तक करने में, पहुँचने में, अंडरस्टैंड करने में, if I persist, it is impossible that I don't attain that, all the powers, yeah, realizations. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we have covered this.
When we have proved matter and realized its secret capacities, the very knowledge which has found its convenience in that temporary limitation must cry to us like the Vedic restrainers, forth now and push forward also in other fields. So basically, ये जो all our focus that we feel है ना is on matter, 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 whatever you can see. So like he was saying, everything has a purpose, na earlier. So where right now, say, may everything be towards matter, and how Jet Sundala was saying, now consciousness is being recognized. So now that so much energy and time has been spent on matter and is still being spent, and realize its secret capacities, the very knowledge which has found its convenience in that temporary limitation would tell us that move forward now, right? We have spent enough and there's more.
I think if you remember जब हम साइंस पढ़ते थे पहले के टाइम तो पापा मुझे याद है मतलब because he would teach me this chemistry, he was in the field of physics, chemistry and physics, so he would tell me, and I remembered what that also the description in the books that atoms are building blocks of matter, you know, something
Right.
like that. Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
And now, although atoms are still building blocks of matter, but we have gone far, 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 you know, deep into the atom. That there is more, there is more, there is more, and that is still unknowable. Amazing, how amazing. और ये देखो आप, ये मैं बोलती हूँ कि अरे मुझे पता है ये गिलास है, मुझे पता है, मुझे पता है, and we have no idea what this is. Well, if you go deeper, I have no clue of, you know, no, I don't have a graspable knowledge of what this is. And this is holds true for each human being. when we claim that I know this person. So it's really amazing that, yeah, how appearances can also deceive.
Mm.
So as Mother and Sri Aurobindo say that we can either reach it, I think in Light Divine only we started, in the starting we read that either we can reach it from the spirit end or the matter's end. So truth, since it is only one, it's
Mm.
not that one we will hit a dead end. And if we have hit a dead end right now, then definitely it is not the end of the game. I can tell myself that if it will pass and then more will be revealed. Dead end.
आगे बढ़ो.
Hmm.
If modern materialism was simply an unintelligent acquiescence in the material life, the advance might be indefinitely delayed. But since its very soul is the search for knowledge, it will be unable to cry a halt as it reaches the barriers of sense knowledge and of the reasoning from sense knowledge. Its very rush will carry it beyond, and the rapidity and sureness with which it has embraced the visible universe is only an earnest of the earnest, like, yeah, of the energy and success which we may hope to see repeated in the conquest of what lies beyond. Once the stride is taken that crosses the barrier, we see already that advance in its obscure beginning. Yeah,
अर्नेस्ट तब यूज करते हैं ना, जैसे बोलते हैं इन ऑल माई अर्नेस्ट, लाइक इन ऑल माई
sincerity.
सीरियसनेस, सिंसियरिटी,
Yeah,
ऑनेस्टी.
yeah.
So I think this is again, whenever we read it, even if we are reading it again, every time I think, for me, I think it's also very hopeful. है ना, इसको पढ़ना काफी, मतलब since the search for knowledge is the very basis of whatever science or research you may be doing, है ना, चाहे physics चाहे कोई भी है, but since its very soul is the search for knowledge, it will be unable to cry a halt. तो मतलब आप अगर कुछ कहीं अटक गए हो तो वहां पे आप, you can't stop it. Even if you wish to, you can't stop, because since the crux of the matter is find out, and it kind of propels us towards more truer and truer knowledge. And as it reaches the barriers of sense knowledge, for example, अब जैसे हम उस दिन बात कर रहे थे शायद, experiences like NDE or other experiences which are beyond sense knowledge, at least for people who don't have the experience, है ना, मतलब what is the proof, for example, they can ask. So as it reaches the barriers of sense knowledge and of the reasoning from sense knowledge, its very rush will carry it beyond, and the rapidity and sureness with which it has embraced the visible universe is only an earnest of the energy and success that we may hope to see in repeated conquest of what lies beyond. So क्योंकि हम देखते हैं कि visible knowledge में अब जैसे laptops and all the gadgets, the more and more nanotechnology, and furthermore we have gone deeper and deeper. So since the crux or the essence is thirst for knowledge, we will not be able to be quiet just to say that at the moment my senses are not allowing me to know that whether an ND is a true experience or whatever. Because somewhere I think scientists and science also nowadays, it's realizing the limitation of the tools that we have. है ना, कि पता लग रहा है कि ऐसा नहीं है कि और नहीं है, मेरे पास टूल नहीं है अभी. और जैसे आप देखो आउटर स्पेस में भी, है ना, अभी टूल नहीं है तो मून पे लैंड नहीं कर सकते, बट टूल आ गया तो मून पे लैंडिंग भी शुरू है, tourism, space tourism shuru hai, which we could not have imagined so many years ago. So I think that humility and grounding is coming to us, that if I if I don't have the senses to grasp it, it doesn't mean that it does not exist. It's just my limitation of the tool.
From a very superficial view, it does feel many of times na, कि it is an unintelligent acquiescence, वैसे, when we are interacting one to one about, what drives people, what their lives are motivated by. It seems like it's just about acquiring and reaching goals which mean nothing. It's a very good reaffirmation that it's not that. I mean, it might appear to be that.
अब देखो ना,
It
जैसे
does,
हाँ, please go ahead.
I'm just finishing it. It does feel that the advance is indefinitely delayed. है ना, मतलब ऐसा प्रतीत होता है खुद में भी, it's too long, मतलब it's taking too long. Like, yeah, please go ahead.
ये मैं कह रही थी कि जैसे आपने बोला ना कि अनइंटेलिजेंट, अब देखो जैसे physicists, who can create really with their knowledge, intellect, capacities, they can do really wonders. And what is the wonder the Nobel laureate physicist is doing? Creating an atom bomb. मतलब वही, वो जो मैं फेनमैन, रिचर्ड पी फेनमैन वाला जो मैं डॉक्यूमेंट्री देख रही थी, तो उसमें मतलब अमेजिंग, व्हाट अ शार्प इंटेलेक्ट, what the capacity to pierce through many layers. And what am I doing? I'm creating atom bombs and celebrating over a dropping of the atom bomb. Amazing. And वही unintelligent पे मेरे को ये याद आया. And then later on, after years, you realize that, oh my god, what have I done? In the same physicist, a realization dawns, a darkness, depression comes, that what have I done? As if you are blinded in your research, that wow, मजा तो आ रहा है create करने में, बहुत मजा आ रहा है, but you have no idea of the वो करने क्या वाला है, उसकी implication क्या है.
Actually, इसमें भी ना, the thing is that when he did it, I mean, I don't know much, but I'm just saying कि because he is doing it for the joy of what's happening, right? But how it's implemented, that is very corrupt, right? Like, I remember, when once we had come to know that Atipania ji has got he's into politics. It's not about what he is capable of, but it's about, how even if it's a diamond, it will be thrown in the keychain and it will be covered very badly. But because right now or then, and it's amazing how this throwing of the atom bomb is considered such a positive thing because it ended the world war. But if it's the way we can spin things, and even in Indian history, the way the Gandhi, and the Gandhi family is shown, how amazing they were. But it's just like, how just two egos, right? Like Jinnah wanted to become Prime Minister, Nehru wanted to become, so chalo, country tod do. Or, 2 million, I don't know how 20 million people died. This is just because I wanted to be the Prime Minister. I mean, and yet the whole world should be praising me because that's the image I want. Like, I'm just talking about how these things are created without anything to stand on. It's just amazing how it can happen and we believe it, right? Like even in the US, like even for the Iran war, the Afghanistan war, the people were actually made to believe that they are doing good by going in these countries, by, it wasn't about the acquisitions or oil or whatever. I remember even for the colonization, the basic people of Britain were told that we are helping the poor countries so that, because, they are incapable. जैसे होता है ना कि savages हैं, they don't know, they'll all kill each other if we don't go and say कि, wear this and go to school and do that. So we're actually doing there out of kindness and compassion. They had no idea that the people are struggling. And that's why when, the freedom movement started, they were very surprised. कि freedom, why? मतलब हम कैसे इन चीजों को spin कर लेते हैं for our own advantages. I mean, I think, the power, the evil of, it's just, yeah. And the guy you were talking, Feynman, क्या
हाँ,
नाम है?
Feynman, हाँ.
Yeah, I remember I had gone to a NGO. So after this, after when he had realized this, there's now like I think an international level NGO funded by him. Matlab, once he realized what he has done, so then and it works like it does great work for disabled people and the elderly. Like now it has homes throughout the world to support.
आई थिंक थोड़ा ब्लाइंडिंग है अभी ये, मतलब है ना, वही जो अनइंटेलिजेंट की बात करी थी ना, थोड़ा वही जो आपने बोला कि मतलब उस समय तो वो तो अपने जॉय के लिए कर रहा है, ही इज डूइंग फिजिक्स फॉर जॉय, एंड ऑल्दो पैरेलली ही नोज दैट ओके वी आर क्रिएटिंग एन एटम बॉम्ब, और लेकिन वो उस समय उस जॉय के सामने वो उसका वी कांट फैदम द प्रैक्टिकल इम्प्लीकेशन ऑफ व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन समहाउ.
I could be wrong, but I think it was supposed to be used as a threat. It was never supposed to be dropped. Like, when they were
Really?
making,
I'm not
yeah.
sure.
But I don't think because lot of times, in science, how even I don't know, like in Bible also they say, na, like for Bhagavad Gita, Bible, say, unless you know how to use it well, the knowledge will not be given to you. For the people working, it was basically because it was huge, right? The implications. So it was supposed to be just a thread. Okay, this is just an armor we'll have, This is another, sorry, not armor, but another tool we'll have in our armor. I don't think it was supposed to be dropped.
No idea. And वो भी एक के बाद second, first Hiroshima, then Nagasaki.
Not only in the one final conception, but in the great line of its general results, knowledge, by whatever path it is followed, tends to become one. I'll read that again. Not only in the one final conception, but in the great line of its general results, knowledge, by whatever path it is followed, tends to become one.
I think इस ये connect हो रहा है ना, ये वाला line, ये अगर ये comma के बीच वाला हटा दे, but in the great line of its general results knowledge, by whatever path it is followed, remove it, tends to become one, है ना? So इसके बारे में शायद बात हो रही है, a complicated line है.
Knowledge tends to become
हाँ.
one. Okay. Yeah.
मतलब like knowledge from different sources, we can gather it together and then it leads us towards.
Okay. So not just in the end, but even in the great lines, like when we are reaching the end or, when we are in
Processes, yeah.
this, they tend to become one. So nothing can be more remarkable and suggestive than the extent to which modern science confirms in the domain of matter the conceptions and even the very formulae of language which were arrived at by a very different method in the Vedanta. The original Vedanta, not of the schools of metaphysical philosophy, but of the Upanishads. Yeah. When you were talking about space, that how we did not have tools, there's so many such examples that how the Vedic, rishis, the Indian rishis, they had already named so many galaxies, which they have just now, maybe 30, 40 years back, they have become capable of actually seeing the nature of those galaxies. And in our Indian text, they are named so. Like there was, I think, one thing I always remember is there were two stars, but they were so close that they appeared to be one. So in modern sciences, it was like, okay, there's a star there, but in the Indian text, it was written as the twin sisters. So how we think that the material tools will be needed, are needed to see all that, and yet the rishis have done astral travels and stuff and come back and documented it. So
There was a talk, I think maybe वो Atisha's verses, where Jitsumna was sharing that Dalai Lama uh, is wondering that how, no, modern physics is wondering that how these seers or rishis or yogis can know these truths without scientific experiments. And then she said that the Dalai Lama is wondering that how can these scientists know about consciousness without meditation? Remember?
and these, on the other hand, often reveal their full significance, their richer contents, only when they are viewed in the new light shed by the discoveries of modern science. For instance, that Vedantic expression which describes things in the cosmos as one seed arranged by the universal energy in the multitudinous forms. Significant especially is the drive of science towards a monism which is consistent with multiplicity, towards the Vedic idea of the one essence with its many becomings.
I think monism would mean जैसे कुछ one unified theory, जैसे उसमें scientists उसमें बात करते हैं ना, उसमें क्या है? हाँ, the monism के बारे में लिखा है the doctrine that only one supreme being exists, है ना? तो monistic जैसे monism हो गया, तो जैसे I think it was Stephen Hawking, I think, who was trying to create this unified theory where है ना, one theory will explain everything, all the theories together. And it is a search in science to find out such thing, and that is corroborated by this what he's sharing here, that it is all one, there is only one Brahman, so expressing itself in multitudes, in multiplicity.
So basically, here they're saying that modern science confirms in the domain of matter. So basically, they reach where Vedanta was saying that one would reach. And these, on the other hand, often, so basically, they are both helping each other, right? Like Vedanta is helping this, and yeah, so
So very nice. यहाँ पे लिखा ना, these reveal their full significance, their richer content, only when they are viewed in the new light shed by discoveries of modern science. अब जैसे meditation के बारे में है ना, कहते हैं सब everybody who really may know meditation would know the efficacy or benefits or whatever. And now I need a neurological experiment, MRI of the brain or something, where वो जो experiment है, where a monk would be introduced to pain stimulus, a normal person would be introduced to pain stimulus, and see that what is the difference between the reception of that pain stimulus. So now it is proven कि people who are meditating for a long time, for them it is like pain and gone. But people who are non-meditating, they chew and ruminate upon that pain stimulus, and even before the pain stimulus, the pain starts, and even after the pain stimulus, the pain remains. So
Yeah. So even if the dualistic appearance of matter and force be insisted on, it does not really stand in the way of this monism. For it will be evident that essential matter is a thing non-existent to the senses. And yeah, we can maybe just pause here and should I go down? Only like the pradhana of the sankhya, a conceptual form of substance.
यहाँ पे वो आ गया ना जो हम अभी क्वांटम फिजिक्स की बात कर रहे थे ना, that even matter, for it will be evident that essential matter is a thing non-existent to senses. वही इलेक्ट्रॉन वेव है कि पार्टिकल है, you can't grasp it. The moment I look at it, it behaves like a particle, but when I'm not looking, it's like wavy, either there, not there. क्या बोलेंगे, है या नहीं है? So we are on the verge, quantum physics, we are on the verge of almost having this evidence in front of us that the essential matter, which appears so solid to the senses, like this appears so solid, I can feel the weight, is a thing non-existent to the senses.
तो सांख्य तो योग में आते हैं ना, सांख्य योग मतलब व्हाट इज प्रधाना ऑफ द सांख्य? प्रधाना,
We can look it up. सांख्य philosophy है ना पूरी.
हाँ, प्रधान, अच्छा प्रधान is an adjective meaning most important,
Okay.
most important, prime, chief, major.
हाँ वो तो हो गया, मतलब प्रधान
हाँ,
वो तो इन जनरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट
हाँ,
में हो गया ना,
हाँ,
इसमें क्या
हाँ,
पे
हाँ.
यूज होता है?
So इसका basically it's the chief cause of the material nature. तो प्रधान. So according to the Samkhya school, Pradhan is the original root of the matter defined as the state of equilibrium of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, the three modes of Prakriti.
The pradhana of the sankhya, conceptual form of substance, and in fact the point given clearly reached, where only an arbitrary distinction in thought divides form of substance from form of energy. Okay. Now I feel that this जो अभी इतना अलग अलग दिखता है मैटर एंड स्पिरिट, फॉर अस इट इज लाइक poles apart. So it seems like with this research going on deeper and deeper into matter, this boundary is dissolving and the matter won't remain as solid, and hence there would be only a thin line, as he towards the end here shows that the, huh. And in fact, the point is increasingly reached where only an arbitrary distinction in thought, that too in thought, divides form of substance from form of energy. So there's only an arbitrarily thin line that I can create between matter, spirit, and energy and form, knowing that they are very kind of one with each other. Even matter looks what it is, but it's not what we think it is. तो इसमें बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है कि मतलब as if it's dissolving boundaries, है ना? Like it's helping me dissolve the boundaries. So because matter की जब बात करेंगे तो मैं अपनी बॉडी की भी बात करूँगी, है ना? तो मेरी बॉडी इसका मतलब यहाँ खत्म नहीं हो रही जहाँ मुझे लग रहा है कि खत्म हो रही है. It's like again moving towards that monism or oneness, that we are all a continuity.
आई थिंक जैसे ट्रेडिशनली एक मैटर को नीचा दिखाया गया है ना, मतलब लीव द फिजिकल, लीव द फिजिकल. तो इसमें ये काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है, इट्स टाइड अप ना कि एनर्जी और मैटर भी अब सेम ही है, मतलब यू नो इट्स जस्ट थॉट. बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली अगर सेम ही चीज से सब बन रहा है, देन वी आर सेइंग कि अच्छा इससे बन रहा है, ये नीचे है, इससे बन रहा है वो ऊपर है, बिकॉज दैट्स एनर्जी, दैट्स मैटर. समथिंग इज रॉन्ग विद इट, है ना. बट आई थिंक अगेन दैट वाज नीडेड देन टू ट्रांसेंड इट, है ना, अदरवाइज मैटर में ही रुक जाते. तो तब की वो जरूरत थी, बट नाउ दिस थिंग सीम सो कि हाउ कुड दैट बी एक्सेप्टेड, मतलब ऐसा लग रहा है. या
अब जैसे आई थिंक coming from spirituality, we can say that consciousness, everything is made of consciousness. So
या
instead of saying atom is the building block, I can actually say consciousness is the building block of even matter, spirit, whatever, है ना? But जैसे वो हम बात करते हैं that scientists doing research and trying to find a particle which is generating consciousness, and how on earth can I think that a particle will generate consciousness? But I can't think like that, and I can also try to prove by spending millions. So there must be a reason why this race towards this proving, and how it is benefiting many other things also. So by saying that a particle is responsible for producing consciousness, I'm actually putting, again वो जो आप बात कर रहे थे ना divisiveness, जैसे I'm putting matter over consciousness, है ना? जैसे अब coming from spirituality, I can negate the matter and put consciousness above. But coming from science, I can say no, matter comes first. So particle, I can find a God particle which is generating consciousness. But neither this is true, neither that is true. And neither matter is below nor consciousness is above, and moving towards that all is one. तो वही जो आप कह रहे थे कि अगर मैं डिनाई कर रही हूँ कि मैटर की, है ना, एसेटिक्स डिनायल की नहीं है मैटर या तुच्छ है जो भी है, वो भी ठीक नहीं है, ऑल्दो गुड स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट. और ये बोलना कि मैटर अबव है और कॉन्शियसनेस है ही नहीं या उसके नीचे, वो भी ठीक नहीं है. तो दोनों कहीं आगे ही बढ़ रहे हैं.
basically, like, you know, again, lot of conversations around matter and body and what you can see, मतलब it appears so real, all these things, है ना, मतलब what we can see and all, कि जो नहीं दिखता उसको काफी वो it's as if perceive कि वो है ही नहीं, because somehow that makes my everyday easier, है ना. But if I'm told you कि these are these 10 things that is making your life, I feel now I know these 10 things and I can make my life. Because that acceptance that there is more, it it makes my ground groundless. है ना, फिर मैं कहाँ खड़ा हूँ? So there's such a strong resistance in.
We can also relate this with, say, Jiddu Krishnamurti's words, and where he says that the mind or the ego, it just wants to be in the known and is afraid of the unknown. It doesn't want to venture in the unknown. एंड जब हम लीप ऑफ फेथ की बात करते हैं स्पिरिचुअलिटी में, सो दैट्स वेंचरिंग इनटू द अननोन. यू आर पुटिंग योर लिमिटेड माइंड असाइड एंड ready. So you are depending on something beyond your comprehension, and yet going also with the feeling that I don't know yet, but I know that there is something beyond. So वही फेथ की बात आ जाती है कि कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है यहाँ पे क्या है. वो जो मदर का एक प्ले है एसेंट ऑफ ट्रूथ, उसमें जो लास्ट तक पहुँचते हैं, आई थिंक अ कपल स्पिरिचुअल कपल है कि दो दो spiritual people to speak. So they are the one, because nothing can be seen like a big gap, abyss, and then they say that if there is this big gap, then we must have also the capacity or the wings to go through it, and they make a jump, something like that.
And in general, जैसे अभी ये दिख रहा है कि it's my fear, like you shared ना J Krishnamurti का, कि that stops me from acknowledging that yes, I don't know, that there is more, but I put it under the cloak of intelligence, right? कि ये तो दिख रहा है ना, I can see this. What are you saying? There's nothing beyond, right? Because so basically I used my intelligence to limit, ये पहले भी आया था ना, to limit my kind of potential and say that see how smart I am. But fear तो nobody likes to admit anyway, so it works kinds कि हाँ यार, yeah.
उसमें फियर की बात में ना, वो ये भी, आई डोंट नो इट्स कमिंग फ्रॉम वेयर कृष्णमूर्ति और वेयर एवर, बट ही ऑल्सो शेयर्स दैट वी आर नॉट अफ्रेड ऑफ द अननोन, क्योंकि अननोन तो पता ही नहीं है ना. He says that we are afraid of the known, leaving the known. We are afraid. अब फॉर एग्जाम्पल इमेजिन करो कि मुझे एक वेंचर आउट करना है फॉरेस्ट में. हाँ, तो अब मुझे डर क्यों लगेगा? डर इसलिए लगेगा क्योंकि मेरे दिमाग में ख्याल आएगा टाइगर का, यति का. हाँ, सो ऑल इज नोन इन माई हेड. सो वॉट आई एम एक्चुअली अफ्रेड ऑफ इज द नोन इन माई हेड एंड नॉट द अननोन, बिकॉज अननोन तो अननोन है, उसके बारे में तो कुछ पता ही नहीं है, तो उसका डर कैसे हो सकता है? सो ब्यूटिफुल ना, मतलब आप फॉरेस्ट में जा रहे हो, सो यू आर अफ्रेड वो कोई स्नेक ना काट ले, सो अगेन स्नेक इन द हेड. सो इट्स वेरी रेवलेटरी टू नो दैट एक्चुअली आई एम नॉट फियरिंग द अननोन. आई हैव फियर्स बिकॉज ऑफ माई कंडीशनिंग ऑफ द नोन दैट इज देयर इन माई हेड. क्योंकि अगर पानी नहीं मिला तो मैं क्या करूँगी, तो मैं क्या करूँगी? क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे प्यास पहले से ही पता है.
And that is something that we don't see in kids, है ना? मतलब when they are kids, they are like, you have to say कि germs, कीचड़, गंदा है ना? Like
Because conceptions are not there. Yeah.
conceptions are not, yeah. And I think वैसे ये जो sentence है, ignorance is bliss. I mean, although it's considered quite negative mostly, है ना? मतलब because of the word ignorance, but not knowing something, because our knowing is so, I don't know, है ना? Not complete. Not knowing something is actually quite blissful, because then you don't, because I know things mostly in very superficial ways. There was a know fully, है ना? A little knowledge जो ये सब करके, I just make it hard for me to, like you say, yeah, that was a beautiful place to share also.
इनफैक्ट ये जो आपने इग्नोरेंस इज ब्लिस बोला ना, इस पे वो हो सकता है, जैसे मदर और शिवरिंदो कहते हैं ना, सिंथेसिस, thesis and antithesis. So take a sentence which is like ignorance is bliss, and then somebody else takes a sentence that ignorance is not bliss.
Yeah.
And one can dialogue to make it happen that yes, they're all pointing towards one thing.
Yeah. We can do a session on this and maybe matter expresses itself eventually as a formulation of some unknown force. Life, too, that yet unfathomed mystery, begins to reveal itself as an obscure energy of sensibility imprisoned in its material formulation. And when the dividing ignorance is cured, which gives us the sense of a gulf between life and matter, it is difficult to suppose that mind, life, and matter will be found to be anything else than one energy, triply formulated, the triple word of the Vedic seers. Look at the sentence, man.
आलोक दास से आई थिंक किसी ने पूछा था शायद, or maybe in the talk he was describing that why do we find these long sentences with Sri Aurobindo. And he was saying why we find it, because truth is it's like is everything at once. So he's actually making this synthesis, this very wide synthesis which has never been attempted before, for example. That's why these wide long sentences.
Yeah, as in यही बता रहे हैं ना कि basically we that would be the like the in the end we will find that mind, life, and matter will be found to be an energy triply formulated, triple world of the Vedic spheres. कि one energy इसके तीन forms निकल गए ना. So mind is the thinking mind यहाँ पे, life and matter हो गया, mind हो गया, life मतलब एक consciousness, energy.
Mind consciousness, life energy, life
Yeah.
would be this prana.
एक
और
ही source से mind, energy or matter, it's coming out. So that these gulfs will not be there when we see that the source is one. And
I
it's
think
weird that how we know the source is one, मतलब conceptually, है ना? And yet it has to be, जैसे अपनी लाइफ में भी हम देखते हैं ना कि एक चीज सीखी या समझी, बट उसको we have to put it to every sphere, है ना, कि यहाँ भी है, somehow it feels that it should naturally happen, but it doesn't. You have to consciously accept and apply it. Yeah, sorry, you were saying?
होती रहती है उसमें। मतलब वही जैसे इग्नोरेंस है ना, ही इज सेइंग दैट व्हेन द डिवाइडिंग इग्नोरेंस, तो अब अगर मुझे दो चीजें, starting from the divine, since all is the divine and divine is one, now if I have to create a boundary, ignorance has to be there. So there was a necessity of ignorance for the multiplicity to be manifested. जैसे एक बहुत बड़ा हॉल है, हाँ बहुत बड़ा हॉल है, अब मुझे अलग अलग चीज़ों के लिए अलग अलग कमरे बनाने हैं. So it become essential and necessary that I create these walls in between, so that the different rooms, specific rooms, music room, classroom, that can be created. Because and now that the dividing ignorance has served its purpose in the manifestation, now what do we feel? We feel this gulf. क्यों अब वो गल्फ तो जरूरी था स्टार्टिंग में, तो स्टार्टिंग ये कैसे होगी, फॉर्म की स्टार्टिंग कैसे होगी? फॉर्म का मतलब फाइनाइट, कि तू यहाँ खत्म मैं यहाँ पे खत्म, दैट इज फॉर्म. तो वो आई थिंक इट स्टार्टेड मे बी विद अगेन माई रिफ्लेक्शंस और विद अ नेसेसिटी, है ना, एंड नाउ इट्स टाइम फॉर अस टू ब्रिज दैट गल्फ of consciousness and matter. Now it's time, you know? Although for the creation, manifestation, it's absolutely necessary, and that's why ignorance is present. अब जैसे ignorance की बात करते हैं, जैसे an actor, है ना, an actor is playing a role of a villain in a movie. So I need to be now in that role. I have to be completely ignorant that I can have compassion, because for a good role of a villain to be played, I have to become that. I have to limit myself to being a villain. So limitation is required to create a form. And in that limitation, I lose a lot of freedom, because when I am a villain, I can't be a hero. When I am a villain, I can't be the one divine. So I think Rupert Spira also has this very short, if I'm not wrong, he also shares that this ignorance was necessary. And in the price that consciousness pays, he refers to that divine consciousness becoming like one individual. And the price the consciousness has to pay in order to become one individual is lack of clarity, lack of all the knowledge, and lack of so much of freedom, because I can't be that because I have to become this. So yeah, that's how he puts it forward, that the price consciousness has to pay. So it's because of the dividing ignorance that I feel this gulf between life and matter. It is difficult to suppose that mind, life, matter will be found to be anything else than one energy. Beautiful. जैसे वो बता रहे थे ना, डॉक्टर बासु इन वन ऑफ हिज सेशंस, यू रिमेंबर, he was talking that chit and shakti have become separated. Remember? So sat chit ananda, what we say is our true swaroop, has chit. Mother and Sri Aurobindo put chit not like chit but chit shakti. So this connects mind and life. So life is energy, mind is consciousness, and this connects both of them. So wherever I put my consciousness on, wherever consciousness gets awakened, there the power to transform also comes. This we see, for example, meditating, or looking at my thoughts, my beliefs, my ideas. So I feel that if I become truly conscious of a pattern, truly I can look at it, the whole light is shed upon that dark area, it also gives me the power to transform it at that level, that subtle level of thought, feelings, or patterns, which can then later be translated even into matter. Even that form can even change matter, transformation of matter. जैसे मदर फिजिकल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की बात करती हैं. So starting from the cellular, the subtle level of thoughts and feelings, and then traveling to the physical transformation of cells also. The same energy, consciousness, force together.
You said mind is consciousness and life is energy. अभी हमने पीछे करा था कि life is consciousness. I mean, just clarify that once again. So there is matter, life, and mind, है ना? So what means what as per you?
जब हम माइंड की बात करते हैं, जैसे when we listen to Jetsunma, for example, है ना, Buddhist teaching. So nature of the mind, what is the nature of mind? It is pure consciousness. That is its true swabhava. Because without being conscious, the mind is not functional. So even if I am not aware that I am conscious, I can see my thoughts, I know what I am thinking. So consciousness is like one with the mind all the time, but I don't know that I am consciousness. That's my ignorance. So mind, I would relate mind with consciousness, and a life with life energy, like this shakti or the power, the force that we have. We also relate it with breath, because breath or prana is the energy.
Yeah. Nor will the conception then be able to endure of a brute material force as the mother of mind. The energy that creates the world can be nothing else than a will, and will is only consciousness applying itself to a work and a result.
ये देखो, ये फर्स्ट लाइन में वही आ गया जो भी हम पहले डिस्कस कर रहे थे ना, दैट वी कैन नेवर हैव अ particle first and then consciousness later. Nor will the conception then be able to endure of a brute material force as the mother of mind. So mother of mind would refer to consciousness. We cannot say, even if we go through this processing, we cannot say ever that consciousness has a mother. Consciousness is the mother of all. But material force doesn't come before consciousness.
Yeah.
और ये वहाँ पे कनेक्ट हो गया, जैसे आलोकता टॉक्स अबाउट or mother talks about the story of creation, that there was only one Brahman and he said, created a force out of himself. He manifested a force out of himself. Maybe we can relate it with will, that I would want to create something. And this was Aditi, the Divine Mother. And she went on creating the universe. So the energy that creates the world can be nothing else than a will. And will is only consciousness. So the two who are one, Purusha, Prakriti, they are one. And the will is only consciousness applying itself to work. So that's why we say Mother and Sri Aurobindo are one, or Purusha and Prakriti is one, not separate from each other. So ये शुरू करें थोड़ा सा.
हाँ हाँ अभी जब टाइम क्या हुआ है? अच्छा हो गया आप
नहीं, I have some time. It's okay.
Okay. So what is that work and result if not a self-involution of consciousness in form and a self-evolution out of form so as to actualize some mighty possibility in the universe which it has created? I'll just say that again. What is that work and result if not a self-involution of consciousness in form and a self-evolution out of form so as to actualize some mighty possibility in the universe which it has created? ऊपर से टाई हो रहा है ना कि will the energy that creates a world can be nothing else than a will, and will is only consciousness applying itself to a work and a result. What is that work and result that the consciousness is applying to? If not a self-involution, going within, self-involution of consciousness in form. The consciousness in form and a self-evolution out of form, so as to actualize a mighty possibility in the universe which it has created. वही मैटर के अंदर जा रही है, वही एनर्जी के बाहर आ रही है, like what you just explained.
हाँ, मतलब जैसे वो कहते हैं ना, आपने एक, इफ यू रिमेंबर वी हैड डिस्कस मे बी फ्राइडे स्टडी सर्कल में, कहाँ पे मुझे याद आ रहा है, यू हैड यूज्ड दैट वॉट एवर इज इन्वॉल्व इज द वन दैट कैन बी इवॉल्व. So if I hide a diamond in a paper, why that paper can evolve? Because the diamond is hidden and the diamond can come out. If there is no involution, there can be no evolution either. And that's why the higher possibilities of us as beings, conscious beings, that there is something in us which has got involved, and that is why all of us can evolve, because of that which forever is kept safe. It never gets tarnished. And that is why no matter how dark I may be appearing right now, I can evolve. So it brings us hope even with the worst possible of us. We can evolve. तो वही बात हो गई कि अगर मैटर को भी मैं अप्रोच कर रही हूँ, तो मैटर से अल्टीमेटली तो वही निकलेगा जो छुपा हुआ है ना. और वो छुपा हुआ वेदांतिक ऋषि डायरेक्ट वो छुपे हुए को हिट कर रहा है, विदाउट हिज टूल्स एंड जस्ट हिज ओन कॉन्शियसनेस. और अगर साइंटिस्ट टूल को लेके जा रहा है तो उसके पास और कोई चारा ही नहीं है, क्योंकि उसके अलावा कुछ छुपा ही नहीं है. एक ही चीज़ है जो छुपी हुई है, तो निकलेगी क्या बाहर? कुछ और गलत रिजल्ट तो निकल नहीं सकता. तो गुड दैट वी आर डूइंग रिसर्च, दैट इवन थ्रू दिस प्रोसेस वी कैन गेट टू. जैसे मदर कहती है ना, डिवाइन सर्टिट्यूड, विक्ट्री, डिवाइन विक्ट्री इज सर्टेन. That's why it is certain, because there is nothing else. There is the only one which is self-immediate.
And what is its will in man if not a will to unending life, to unbounded knowledge, to unfettered power? You know how it is designed that we should become unbounded, na? Unending, and how because of a stickiness we keep, है ना, थोड़ा सा कुछ समझ भी आता है तो उससे स्टिक हो जाते हैं कि हाँ यही है. It's so virodhabasi, so paradoxical. It is this love that is telling us that, you know, we are unending, and I, because I feel this is me, I keep choosing my own cages and limits.
और आई थिंक ये जो इनहेरेंट हमारे में अंदर है ना, जैसे वी ऑल ऑफ अस वुड वांट कि सेटल हो जाओ, जैसे आप उस दिन बात कर रहे थे सेटलिंग. सो इन अवर इग्नोरेंस वी रिलेटेड टू सेटलिंग इन अ फिजिकल डोमेन. मतलब इंटेंशन तो गलत नहीं है, इंटेंशन तो बहुत अच्छी है, दैट मे यू गेट कंप्लीट स्टेबिलिटी. But in my ignorance, I translate it as stability in a physical space or time or that. So ये कहाँ से आ रही है, मतलब that's what we can wonder on this sentence, that ये आ कहाँ से रही है, why do I want stability? And if I can trace its root, because stability is my inherent nature. The immutable Shiva on the breast of whom Kali dances, for example. तो वो हमारा ट्रू स्वभाव है वो, दैट इज माई ट्रू एसेंस. बट सिंस आई डोंट नो इन माई इग्नोरेंस वेयर टू लुक, I try to find stability either in a place by buying a house, maybe getting a job which appears very stable. And every time again, I can fool myself for a lifetime actually. But it has to go away. That stability, material stability, has to go away. So, what is its will in man if not a will to unending life? Now, all of us have life insurances. The best, let's go to the best doctor, the best possible hospital, the best possible even calendula, जैसे वो भी लानी है तो जर्मन लानी है, best possible है, because we have this inherent urge towards immortality. Now I don't know that how to approach it, so I approach it through material means. अनबाउंडेड नॉलेज, जैसे इवन इफ आई अप्लाई माई लिमिटेड माइंड, अच्छा ये भी कवर हो गया, ये इंश्योरेंस कवर. सो अगेन आई एम यूजिंग माई लिमिटेड नॉलेज इन द फील्ड ऑफ मटीरियल in trying to totally secure myself and know that I have done all the analysis possible in order to make sure that my research is complete. Now again, this is coming from a desire to unbounded knowledge. But no matter how much I apply the mind, my knowledge will be limited. कितनी भी अच्छी scientist बन जाए. And to unfettered power, a power which has no bound. It is not tied to anything. And how most of us, almost hate being tied and suffocated, either in relationships or tied to a boss in a job. We hate it. And we don't realize that we can almost forget the material physical existence, and if in our own selves we can have this unfettered consciousness and relate with that power, then even if outward scenario में बंधी हुई नजर आऊं, inwardly I will always be free.
And people like say, I think why Martin Luther King and all, or say Sri Aurobindo in the jail, है ना, मतलब as in के उसका कोई फर्क ही नहीं है ना, मतलब as in there's so much life energy, there's so much will to be, that I know I am so much more that can be imprisoned, that can't be imprisoned. तो ठीक है, बॉडी को रख लो, रखना है ना, मतलब जस्ट क्या है ना, जितनी एनर्जी से गए थे, आई मीन बेसिकली दीज प्रिजन्स आर टू ब्रेक यू, राइट, कि इतना सेल्फ आइसोलेट कर दो, इतना वो कर दो कि बंदा कहीं गुम ही जाए, है ना, सो दैट ही कैन लूज हिज माइंड, एंड येट दे डोंट नो आई एम बियॉन्ड द माइंड, है ना, आई एम बियॉन्ड, मतलब इट्स अमेजिंग।
उल्टा वो हेल्पफुल ही हो जाता है ना फॉर
और
मोस्ट ऑफ
हाँ,
अस कि इतना
नॉट
तोड़ दिया
मोस्ट ऑफ
बाहर से,
अस वैसे, हाँ, मतलब आई थिंक भाई डिपेंडिंग ऑन
डिपेंडिंग ऑन द इंक्लिनेशन।
टू, हाँ, मतलब या
आई थिंक वही जैसे हम चैलेंज की बात कर रहे थे कल भी स्टडी सर्कल में ना, तो मतलब द मोर यूजुअली वी ऑलवेज ट्राई टू safeguard myself. That's my job. In all my life, why am I having money? So that I can safeguard myself. जबकि समझ नहीं आता that the more risk I take, the more challenge I give myself, then only because I'm so ignorant and so much in inertia, it's only after that breaking, the breaking force, that I reach that depth of mind which otherwise I'm not able to reach. Because everything is so comfortable. Why would I want to reach my immutability within? When there is immutability outside, क्यों चाहिए, है ना? लेकिन वो पता नहीं, आई थिंक आई पर्सनली फील दैट वन हैज टू रिमाइंड वन सेल्फ अगेन एंड अगेन दैट लुक व्हाट हैपेंस टू पीपल हु चैलेंज देमसेल्व्स, फॉर एग्जांपल, और व्हाट हैज हैपेंड टू मी इन द मोस्ट चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशंस. हैवंट आई ग्रोन मोर इन पीरियड्स ऑफ पेन, टर्मोइल, सफरिंग? और अगर उसका टेस्ट लग जाए, उसका जॉय आ जाए, तो फिर फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि चाहे पेन है, सफरिंग है, वॉट एवर, आई नो इट्स हैपनिंग फॉर गुड. बट अगर उसका टेस्ट नहीं मिलता है, देन आई बिकम फ्रस्ट्रेटेड. आई थिंक वही टेस्ट की बात है. अगर एक बार स्वाद लग जाए उसका, फिर ऐसा लगता है कि बिना बात की सफरिंग चले जा रही है, खत्म ही नहीं हो रही है ना, क्योंकि वो टेस्ट ही नहीं आया अभी, जो उसका स्वाद नहीं चखा कि मैंने क्या बुरे कर्म किए होंगे कि मेरे साथ ये हो रहा है. ये सब तब बोलने को मन करता है, तब आप जब आप नहीं, आपको कुछ मिला उससे सफ़र कर करके. अगर मिला है, एक बारी भी मिला है, तो फिर लगता है कि बढ़िया.
I think बार बार yesterday, like what we were discussing, the base कि getting yourself out of the picture बहुत जरूरी है ना, मतलब it's surprising that it has taken this long to realize it, but because as soon as I get myself into the picture, everything becomes very restricted, है ना, very limited, very narrow, just me, and then this is it कि मेरे आसपास. But as soon as you are out, कि this is bigger than you, this is bigger than you, then that expansion happens, and you can, as they were saying, the potential towards that expansion also to affect or accentuate has the possibility of growing, you know.
और
तो
मुझे लगता
मैं
है
जहाँ
पैरेलली,
तक
पैरेलली जो आप कह रहे हो ना, कि अगर मैं अपने आप को साइड रख दूँ, है ना,
हाँ
जैसे कहते हैं ना पैराडॉक्सिकल, भी हम बात कर रहे थे कि थीसिस
हाँ
एंथिसिस, तो इसमें
हाँ
मैं बोलूँगी कि अगर मैं अपने आप को पिक्चर में भी रख लूँ,
हाँ
क्या मुझे क्लियरली नहीं दिख रहा दैट आई हैव ग्रोन थ्रू पेन?
हाँ
इट्स वेरी क्लियर.
हाँ
तो मुझे लगता है कि बोथ द पॉसिबिलिटीज आर देयर. आइदर आई स्टेप असाइड एंड लेट द हायर अनफोल्ड एंड सी हाउ इट इज अनफोल्डिंग. Even if I put myself in picture back, haven't I been molded, transformed, shaped by the circumstances? और समा मुझे लगता है कि पिक्चर में रखने में भी इस सेंस में जो कल बात कर रहे थे, वो इट वाज अ डिफरेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट. ऐसा लग रहा है कि दोनों वहीं जा रहे हैं, वहीं इशारा कर रहे हैं दैट समथिंग ग्रेटर इज हैपनिंग, either to me shaping the personality or whatever, my beliefs are letting go, dropped old beliefs. ऐसा नहीं लग रहा आपको कि जैसे दोनों मैच कर रहे हैं?
या बट उसमें भी ना, जैसे इफ आई से कि आई कैन सी हाउ इट हैज शेप्ड मी, उसमें भी मुझे मेरी इमेजेस सेट असाइड करनी ही पड़ रही है ना, मतलब कि जो मुझे जैसा शेप होना था मेरी लिमिटेड उसमें, वो मुझे हटाना ही
ट्रू
पड़ेगा.
ट्रू ट्रू.
मतलब वही, मतलब कि जो वही, मतलब मेरी जो लिटरलनेस है, जो कि मुझे लगता है मुझे बनाई हुई है, जो मैं हूँ,
हम्म.
मेरी, that मतलब उसको हटाए बिना बात नहीं
हाँ, so you are talking of that the images I have about myself being shaped, है ना,
हाँ
उनको
एज
साइड
एन के
रखना है।
हाँ मतलब मैं और मेरी इमेजेस
हम्म।
एज एन के मतलब मैं हर चीज को रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर रही हूँ एट ईच पॉसिबल पॉइंट, है ना। एंड व्हाट आई हैव बीन टोल्ड इज लिमिटलेस पॉसिबिलिटी। और मैं अपनी एक छोटा सा है ना एक कैसल लेके हो जाती हूँ, मुझे एक कैसल मिल जाए तो
और फिर डर लगता है कि जब कैसल नहीं मिला तो, है ना, कि हाय मेरे को ये भी नहीं मिलेगा, हाय वो भी नहीं मिलेगा। तो वही जो, हाँ, या नाउ आई गेट इट, मतलब जो मेरे कंडीशनिंग से जो बिलीव्स हैं, इमेजेस हैं, है ना, मुझे लगता है कि वही जब होगा तो सही होगा। अब उनको साइड पे रखना है, दैट आई डोंट नो। हाँ।
जैसे यू नो yesterday, I don't know if you want to stop the recording now or